Hello, and welcome to the Haunted Book Club. My name is Gav Cross. And who are you?
I'm John Reppion.
Thank you, John. I enjoyed how surprised you looked at being invited to introduce yourself. This is the Haunted Book Club. We meet live on Substack at 9 p.m. every other Tuesday. And the Haunted Book Club is the book club where, if you so choose, we do the work for you. Because in the intervening week, we release the story we're going to discuss. And the story we released into the wild last week is a little known utter classic, Man-Sized in Marble by Edith Nesbitt. Do you like that story, John?
Yes, I really do like that story. I think we are both very much huge fans of it. We both have the horror horn for this one, as people who listened to the last one
Yes,
will know, and people who didn't,
that's
they
come
don't
out
know
now
what.
there once again.
Yeah,
That is a t-shirt in waiting. The horror horn is held high. Now, okay, so if you don't know Man Size in Marble and you're listening or watching this back afterwards, you can pause it here and you can go read it, take it off your shelf. You could even watch the adaptation on iPlayer. I think it's still on there. Barry gets 10 points for the first mention of the added Alexa. I wondered if anybody would notice that. It made me laugh, so I kept it in. And so now's the time to pause it, go off, have a read, have a listen. If you're here live and you haven't read it, I think you'll follow it. Okay, so what we do is we got a lovely group of chatters here. And we asked them what they thought of the story at this stage. And we asked them, is it a woohoo? It's a brilliant story. Woohoo! Type in woohoo. If you didn't quite enjoy the story, type in boohoo. Now, what's happened is that sometimes people change their opinion after these conversations. It's not on iPlayer. Not on iPlayer. Oh no. Claire says, until reading yesterday, I was thinking it was a man-sized marble. It's a woohoo from a t'other Claire, woohoo from Jude, hello Jude, woohoo from Rachel and Claire and Barry. It's a woohoo from me, and as confirmed, it's a woohoo from John and Helen. Woohoo! Well, we struck a nerve here.
well, that's
Now,
it. We can all go home now. That's done.
now, what happens is John gives us his overview and input, and then we come back and we have a chat. So you can type your thoughts in as we go, but we'll look at them after John has finished. It's a woohoo from Nathan, who had the same thought about a man-sized marble. Imagine Imagine that. Chris is saying, okay, it's woohoo, but not a convincing one. Okay, let's see if we can convince him a bit more. And Josie is coming in with a woohoo as well. Right, we'll pick up any more after that. John, let's give us. Oh, by the way, at the end of this, what we have is we have the afterlife where we snip and stop the recording and we chat about all sorts of things. Give us, as Rachel says, your overview of the Indiana Jones style man-sized marble. Or, John, if you choose, you can tell us about Man-Sized in Marble by Edith Nesbitt.
Well, I was saying to Gav before we actually started recording that I've confused myself today because I'm already thinking about two stories at once. So now really worrying that I haven't read this story about this giant marble. No, I read a different one. It was this Edith Nesbitt one. Yeah. So the short summary is it's newlyweds Jack and Laura move into a cottage on the outskirts of a rural English village. Near their new home stands an old church with two life-size marble sculptures of knights in armour inside. The knights are said to have been fierce and wicked men, marauders by land and sea, who had been the scourge of their time. The cottage, it turns out, stands on the site of their former house. So that is the entire setup of the entire thing. So this time, rather than Gav is currently reading a biography of Edith Nesbitt. Is that correct?
Yes,
So,
love her.
so rather than me delving into the sort of biographical stuff the way I often do, I thought I'd try and dig into or go over the points of the story a bit more. So, although Gav has said I will speak and then everybody else can, feel free to interrupt me a bit more here because I'm really going to just go through the story piece by piece because I think it's good enough to kind of talk about the blocks that make it up. I will give you a bit of background first. So, um, Edith Nesbitt, she was born in 1858 and she died in 1924. She was a writer and a poet, probably best known for The Railway Children, which was published in 1906, and Five Children in It, which was published in 1902. She wrote 10 children's novels, as well as lots of short stories and poems for what used to be called picture books. She also wrote novels and short stories under the pseudonym of Fabian Bland, and on at least one occasion she had something published in under her maiden name, which was Edith Bland or E. Bland. So, Man Sized in Marble was first published in the London magazine Home Chimes in December 1887. It was Nesbitt's first published work of fiction, and it's been included in lots and lots of ghost story and spooky story anthologies throughout the years. It's considered a classic of the genre. It's one of these 19th century horrors that's basically a much more refined version of a classic campfire tale. It's really exactly the kind of story that we set up Haunted Book Club to talk about. It could almost, we could almost have started with this one, but then we'd have peaked too soon. Uh, um, it's been adapted for radio and read as audiobooks many times, and it was the basis of Mark Gattis's 2024 BBC Ghost Story for Christmas, Woman of Stone. However, Gattis, who is brilliant and has done us all a lot of favours with the ghost stories, he made quite a few changes to his version of the story. Not the plot itself, so much as the characterisation of the husband and wife, Jack and Laura, and that makes his version a bit different to the original, but we can talk about that a bit more later on. So, Man Sized in Marble is narrated by Jack, who's an artist, although, of course, as always with these stories, we have to remember this is a story told from a man's point of view. It's a man with, what are fairly dated attitudes, but it's written by a woman. So, you have to think about how deliberate the attitudes are, how deliberate a part of his characterization they are. It's not somebody naively sort of thinking this is just how people act and the things people say. There's a bit more motive to it than that. So it's narrated by Jack. He's an artist. And although we get this opening paragraph, the opening paragraph sets it up that something bad's going to happen. It says, it warns us, every word of this story is true as despair, and that this is an account of something which defies rational explanation. But we're quickly launched into a story which is very cozy and very comfortable. Jack and his young wife Laura, she's a writer, he's an artist. They've moved into the countryside because they can't afford to live in the city. Out there, they can afford to rent a cottage and to pay a servant, Mrs. Dorman, to cook and clean for them. They seem very happy and contented with their lives and with each other. The cottage is in Brenzett. Is that how you say it? Brenzett? Which is a real place anyway, northeast of Rye, in East Sussex, which was a part of the world that Edith was very familiar with. Mrs. Dorman even tells the pair of them little bits of local folklore, which Laura uses as inspiration for the stories she sells. They've been living in this way for 3 months when Mrs. Dorman says she has to leave them suddenly. Laura's very upset, saying that neither of them will be able to get any work done if they have to spend all their time cooking and cleaning and washing, which sounds, very entitled and sort of funny and comical. But actually, if you think about working from home as a creative person And if you imagine that you might not have a Hoover, a microwave, a dishwasher, hot water on demand, or an electric oven, you know, it's easy enough to get distracted now. So, if you were actually trying to write and paint, you might really, do with someone to sweep up and do a bit of washing up for you. So it makes a bit, if you think about it in that way, it's not quite as, doesn't seem quite as privileged. Jack is sure that Mrs. Dorman probably just wants a raise or something because she's threatening to leave. He's not too worried. He assures his wife that he'll sort it out. And then together they walk over to the local church. So, and we're told they often do that. We get this lovely little passage. The church was a large and lonely one, and we loved to go there, especially upon bright nights. The path skirted a wood, cut through it once, and ran along the crest of the hill through 2 meadows and round the churchyard wall, over which the old yews loomed in black masses of shadow. This path, which was partly paved, was called the Beer Balk, for it had long been the way by which the corpses had been carried to burial. The churchyard was richly treed and was shaded by great elms which stood just outside and stretched their majestic arms in benediction over the happy dead. So even though that is quite gothic, it's also incredibly cheerful and optimistic, over the happy dead. It's they're in this gothic setting, but the outlook of Jack, of our main character, of our narrator, is that all of this is actually lovely. Everything is really lovely and bucolic, and what harm could there possibly be in this place? And that's how they both seem to view their surroundings. There's no hint of kind of danger or menace at that point. The description of the man-sized statues on either side of the altar and their history is quite matter of fact, and it doesn't really seem any more sinister than the highwaymen and the smugglers that we've been told Mrs. Dorman sometimes told them about. She has also mentioned the things that walk, in inverted commas, but again, that's quite fleeting. So what's happening is everything feels so safe and lovely, but there's just these little bits of tension that are creeping in. And I think it's part of what is wonderful about this story is how things ratchet up and up so expertly. So yeah, the description of the statues, that's sandwiched between the passage we had before and then we walked to the chancel and looked at the sleeping warriors. Then we rested some time on the stone seat in the porch, looking out over the stretch of quiet moonlit meadows, feeling in every fibre of our being, the peace of the night and our happy love, and came away at last with a sense that even scrubbing and blackleading were but small troubles at their worst. So there's no hint of menace from those statues. Nobody feels anything bad about being in the church or anything at that point. In fact, everything is absolutely lovely. And that church, by the way, is a real church. It's St. Eanswith's Church, which is in the village of Brenzett. The church is dedicated to St. Eansworth, who was an Anglo-Saxon princess, and parts of it date from the 12th century. The man-sized in marble statues are real too, although they actually depict 2 17th century men who look more like cavaliers than knights. And one of them is, they are lying next to each other. One of them's kind of up on his elbow, like this, looking at the other one. So it's more like kind of 2 people having a sleepover and having a bit of a chat. It's not really that imposing. They don't
Good
look
for
like these
them.
fearsome warriors. Yeah, good for them. They're just sort of. It looks like somebody's about to go. Are you turn that light off?
I'm looking at that picture right now. I'm going to copy that for the live, like Barry does brilliantly. I'm going to copy that in. Sorry, apologies. Carry on.
No. Yes, so soon Jack gets the real reason out of Mrs. Dorman why she wants to be out of the house by the time of All Saints' Eve or Halloween, when that comes around. Although she does stick to her she keeps saying that it's because her niece is ill, but he kind of gets to the truth of it. So she says, them two bodies, drawed out man size in marble, they do say, as on All Saints' Eve, them two bodies sits upon their slabs and gets off them and then walks down the aisle in their marble. And as the church clock strikes 11, they walks out of the church door and over the graves and along the beer balk. And if it's a wet night, there's marks of their feet in the morning. And where do they go? I asked, rather fascinated. They comes back here to their home, sir. And if anyone meets them, well, what then? I asked. But no, not another word could I get from her, save that her niece was ill and she must go. So, and the Wicked Knight's home is stood on the site of the cottage where they live. It's struck by lightning, presumably, blighted by God is kind of the inference of that. So, where they walk to is the cottage. Shock horror. Mrs. Dorman warns Jack to lock the door early on All Saints' Eve and to make the cross sign over the doorstep and the windows. But it feels like Jack, I'm not sure, I wouldn't say he doesn't really believe it, but he doesn't want to believe it. But more than anything, he doesn't want to upset Laura by her hearing about it. And this is where Gattis's version of Man Size lays things on a little bit thick, I would argue, compared to the original story, which is there is definitely a Jack. Jack is quite sexist, and the way he thinks of his wife, he thinks of her as quite meek and weak, and he infantilizes her a lot. But he's very genuine. He's a very genuine, loving person. I would say that's how he's written. In Gattis's version, he basically makes him a bit of a patronizing, in a darkly comic way. And I think, when we're talking about E.F. Benson, I think it's more kind of in the E.F. Benson vein, the way he treats the character. Yeah. Sorry, Gav, go on.
So, no, we talked about this today. We talked about this as two old beardy men. That this is a story written by a woman of its time. But I would like to ask the question, perhaps open it up. This representation of this paternal, perhaps patronizing husband, or but also it felt a very loving relationship. It felt, I mean, of course, it had that sobriquet we don't use in the same context anymore. He did refer to her as his little pussy, which I felt wrong at laughing at. Because language changes. But I'd like to ask the chatters here, how did you feel about that first half, which I thought was quite romantic? It was portrayed as a very loving relationship, even if he was perhaps a little bit. Well, he's telling the story, isn't he? He's the narrator. So I'd like to see what people think. Sorry, John, carry on.
No, absolutely no. This is why we're here, isn't it? To talk about this stuff. Yeah, so I think that almost Gattis's way of treating it is a little bit like how we were talking about E.F. Benson stuff last time, and he's made it a bit more arch. And I think actually Man Size in Marble is a bit more straightforward than that. There's not so much of a side to it. There's certainly things you can read into it, but I don't think there's the intention necessarily. We're supposed to think that he's a bad guy for these things. So Jack's a much more sympathetically portrayed character in Nesbit's original story, basically. But it's definitely true that it's his belief that Laura should be kept in the dark about what Mrs. Dorman tells him actually causes the tragedy of the entire story. He makes a conscious choice about that, but basically, I think he completely forgets about it, until it's too late. So on All Saints' Eve, Laura has her presentiments of evil, which both of them try to dismiss one way or another. And there is this kind of thing where she's sort of trying to be brave for him. So, again, I suppose that is his fault. She feels like she's being silly, even though she's got a real kind of inkling that something strange is going on. And it's pretty patronizing the way that he sends her off to bed and goes to smoke his pipe. You can't argue that those aren't, But and of course, when he goes off to smoke the pipe, he leaves the front door unlatched, which he was famously warned against. I forgot all about. But Nesbit makes sure that we know how totally in love with Laura Jack is, how all of his thoughts about her and their love and his complete devotion to her are. That's what fills his head when he goes off to smoke his pipe. And even when he decides, or maybe he's compelled to go up to the church after hearing the clock strike, he's still thinking about how the love and happiness he carries with him is kind of so powerful, it sort of belongs in the church. Yep, were you going to say something, Gav?
So
Sorry.
yeah, just with that question before I come and move on to the denouement, that I mean, Chris wondered if there was a the reoccurring theme with picking up cousins. No sign of that yet, but yeah, there's an agreement that it was a loving relationship, and Claire P. Not was surprised she didn't mind that she wasn't the little housewife. Yeah, he's kind of empowering her to be the creative, to be the writer. And of course, this is written by a writer or an aspiring writer at the time. She was
Yeah,
making money from being a writer, writing article at a very young age. And it seemed a man of his time rather than he wasn't a bad person. He didn't come across as a bad person. Yeah, and as Rachel says, it's a loving relationship, but potentially he underestimates her. Or maybe he does estimate her because he's carving the gap for her. Because I think, doesn't it say, refer to the fact that they were living off of her earnings as a writer?
yeah, yeah.
So
There's no mention of the
she was the
breadwinner. Yeah,
breadwinner.
yeah, yeah.
And disappointingly, Claire Satsuma did snicker like a 14-year-old boy at the pussy reference. Absolutely. Remind me after when we talked about this. Remind me. Just John. Just say Giles Brandreth pussy. Yeah, and then I'll tell you a quick story.
Do I
Anyway,
have to
sorry, I
say
don't
that?
mean to interrupt you. Let's get to the den. Somebody will remind us. If it's not you, John, someone will remind us. Giles Brandreth pussy. Right. Carry on to the denouement.
um, yeah. So he remembers the legends pretty much as soon as he goes into the church. Instead of heading home, he has to check if the statues are there, and of course they're gone. And that is, that's a brilliant scene. It is somehow, even though it's been obvious from the start that that's what's going to happen, it's still
Is it?
shocking.
Is it though? Is it?
Well, I mean, it seems to be well, it should be obvious. I think is what I'm saying from the setup of the entire thing. It should be obvious, but the way it is written makes it not obvious. She is so good at lulling you into this false sense of security, of distracting you the way that characters are being distracted, that it comes as a surprise. And yeah, I mean, this is part of what is amazing about the story is actually if you dismantle it bit by bit and you were to get somebody else to tell it. I mean, I think I said this about Mask of the Red Death as well. It's a similar thing. You take it apart bit by bit, and you get someone else to tell it. There's hardly any story there. There's not much to it, but it's the artifice. It's the how masterfully she does tell this story that makes it the incredible story that it is. So yeah, it is a shock when the statues aren't there. He goes raving, mad and runs back, and then he bumps into the doctor. Um, and that's I feel like that is it feels very modern. The kind of the whole thing, doctor won't let him go, and it's like you can't say something like that to me and then just walk off. You've got to come back with me
Yeah.
and show me what's going on. And
Really, a really
it's
compassionate scene. I
yeah,
found that really compassionate. That it wasn't, flippant at all. It's like, listen, you need me more than so and so's daughters does. I thought that was a really modern modernist, are we just naive and we think because it could have been a character who's just like, oh, what's going on here? Yeah, I love that particular bit.
Yeah, yeah. But obviously, the frustration that we're then in that kind of the modern sort of horror equivalent would be the kind of don't go into the cellar. We know that it's the thing of him being delayed, and presumably if he hadn't met the doctor, he could have got home in time. But then what would have happened then? Would he have been able to save her, or would they just both have been killed? We don't know. So
Okay.
his relief at seeing the statues back in place once when they go back to the church is fantastic because things have ramped up, and we know by then that that's a bad sign. Everybody knows that that's a bad sign that they're back. But rationally, of course, they never moved. It's all been some sort of trick of the mind, yeah. And then the return to the cottage, and things become so gothic. The gothicness is very Poe like. All the candles and the tapers guttering in the wind. This incredible, you can. I could see it. I could see it as this wonderful kind of illustration, and then there in the recess of the window, I saw her. Oh, my child, my love. Had she gone to that window to watch for me? And what had come into the room behind her? To what had she turned with that look of frantic fear and horror? Oh, my little one. Had she thought that it was I whose step she heard and turned to meet what? Which is just fantastic. She's dead, and when the doctor opens her hands, there's the missing grey marble finger that we saw snapped off. So we never see these knights walk. We don't know what they do. We hear about it. We don't see it happen. The finger that's snapped off and clenched so tight, it shows that there was a struggle. There was violence. She hasn't died of fright. So something really terrible has happened, but it's not shown. We don't see any part of it. It all happens off screen. And I just think that's part of like I say, the genius of the whole thing is how it's told. It is not the story that is told. It is how it is told, how expertly it is told. And that ending is, it's like a gut punch ending. It's such a heavy, harsh ending, and somehow it feels like the kind of the weight and the coldness of the marble that is like almost like what the weight of the story is. It's kind of but yeah, it's a perfect story. I think it's the one that
Okay.
we both wanted to talk
Yeah.
about, isn't it? So yeah.
So, okay, so what I would like you to do is tell us what you thoughts, questions, impressions. I'm genuinely interested in those a couple of you who said it, woohoo, just about, and interested in why, because I'm going to say this now. Those of you who have been on a longer journey with me of online reading ghost stories know that I am quite seriously. I have a pash for Edith Nesbitt. I find her just so alluring as a human being. It's nothing to do with. I mean, she's a fox, but that is reductive, and I wouldn't ever say anything like that on a serious podcast conversation like this. But I got a thing for her writing. She's possibly my favorite ghost story writer because I think she has brilliant beginnings, middles, and ends. And
Yeah.
myself, and I'm going to out him, Barry, we are from that region. And there's another person here who's not far away as well. We are from, and so I used to live in Kidbrooke, which is I was brought up in Kidbrooke, which is adjacent to Well Hall. And so Edith Nesbitt has been in my life because she lived there for a long time. She lived all over Southeast London, and I love her. Okay, so Rachel says, feel like the creators of the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, very inspired. Absolutely, nothing. Everything is recycled, isn't it? Opposite of
Yeah,
Spinach to me. Couldn't believe those two got away with it, and then poor bloody Laura. Absolute again, and
yeah,
of course Spinach set in Camber, which is probably 2 or 3 miles from Brexit. You could
yeah,
walk between the two. You could walk between the two ghost houses. Not oast houses, which are the famous Kentish places of drying hops, the ghost houses of Sussex and Kent. Wrong uns down there, absolute wrong uns. You still want to go on that trip? I would go. I would go. If you look at also, here's something that's quite chilling. I linked earlier to the picture of the father and son in my marble, and I'll repost it. You can, if you zoom in on the finger, yeah, zoom in on the finger, it's broken.
oh,
The
oh, so
marble
that must have been,
finger is broken and looks like it's been reattached. Absolutely incredible. Right, yeah. So I love Nesbit for who she was as a human being, as a writer. As I said, she was writing to sustain existence from a very early age, poetry and articles and magazines. Rachel says Edith is also one of my favorite authors of all time, but had no idea she was also wrote ghost stories. Yes, so here's the supernatural and weird fiction of Edith Nesbitt, Volume 1, and here is a Volume 2, and I can highly recommend them. Now, Mark Gatiss took elements of this for his Doctor Who story Empress of Mars, starring Peter
yeah,
Capaldi, apparently. Hmm.
yeah, he did, yeah.
I've just started a Capaldi rewatch. How about that? As someone new to the haunted genre, says Claire, I'm entertained and annoyed at the same time. At what? Entertained, extrapolate. Annoyed, detail. Edith is also. Oh, good, I've said that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I love her, and I can thoroughly recommend the classics. John Charrington's Wedding, number 17. They are so readable. Um, right,
Yeah,
the
and
ending, no resolution. Okay, let's address this. No resolution. See, I think this is one of the more satisfying ghost stories from my perspective. That doesn't take away from yours, because it does something solid in two places that lots of ghosts and haunted stories don't do. It gives us two anchor points of proof or evidence. If we take on board his statement that the plinths were empty, so they did walk about, and the second
yeah,
one, she was holding that finger. So yes, I think I found that really satisfying, because it was no kind of like, and it was a ghost, maybe. Oh,
yeah.
it's like it's quite solid, something solid.
But
I
also,
want
it's got, it's,
vengeance and the marbles smashed. I understand that. Definitely.
yeah, but it's got the framing device, the uh, he's writing it down because he's like, nobody will ever believe this, but this is the only way I can explain it. Is obviously, that becomes very, overused. Love. I don't know how many Lovecraft stories start with that, but and then they usually end up with like somebody still writing stuff as like his doors being broken down or something.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are
yeah.
coming through
I
my
must.
door.
Just Helen
But
says, it may be mean, but I would like to give Jack a good slap. He had all the information. He did. And
it's
that's the
true, yeah,
tragedy of it. Because, of course, he all the way through, he is painted as this kind of paternal, dismissive, oh, my poor pussy. Oh, my poor little lady. Oh, my wifey. Don't you worry your pretty head. Don't you? Ah, it's real.
yeah.
And I think that's to me, that adds to the tragedy of it, because why would he believe that there's on all Hallows Eve there's going to be
Yeah,
two?
um, and that's why he has to check whether they're there. That's why he has to go back and check whether they're whether what he's seen, because why would he believe any of those things? Of course, he
Why
wouldn't,
would
because
you?
this is real life. Yeah, this is real life. That's what we're.
We,
Yeah,
we're reading it knowing the genre.
yeah,
We're reading it because we know it's a ghost story, but he's telling the story. He doesn't know it's a ghost story. He doesn't know it's a supernatural story. He doesn't know that this is going to happen. Also, what's her name? The maid lady that goes.
Mrs. Oh, I have to look because it's a very unmemorable name, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Miss
I would put
Mrs.
it on her
Mrs.
shoulder.
Dorman.
I would put it on her shoulders more than him. He's the
Yeah,
rationalist. He's the one, and she says the previous owner wouldn't be there on Halloween. She knows.
yeah, yeah. And but the fact that he even asks that, yeah, I think that uh, part of it is he's a bit creeped out by all the stuff that he's hearing, but he's in, as any rationalist, normal person would be, he's in denial of it. But the fact that he does say, well, what about the last people who lived here? What did they do? Like, that isn't a question you'd ask if you weren't in some way concerned about it, if you weren't trying to kind of pick the bones out of it.
Yeah. Dorman, yes, thank you, Claire. Helen has withdrawn their slap. I would give it to Dorman. I would give it to Dorman. Claire would be dead. Claire P would be dead because I would never believe it. Me too. Me
Yeah,
too. But there's all the evidence in this story is it happened. This actually happened. This is documentary, people. Um, You're a witness girl, Claire. You'd get them with a pan or something. That's painting a picture of witness that the Borough of Holton has been trying to shake off for many a retrograde action there from Rachel. Or is Dorman like the widow from Spinach up to something? Now, here's another thing, right? Right. Let me throw something in here. What was it they were making their money off of? We've
the
already said it.
legends. Yeah, the legend
And
she was
where
telling them.
yeah, so they were making money off of Dorman's stories.
Yeah,
So Dorman is not actually given to, think kindly of them, maybe that is why she did not warn them more. That she just was concerned of her own protection. She's like, these London types coming down here, taking out stories, publishing them in those London magazines. I'm off to see my cousin. She's not very well. I've
but
got
yeah,
no
she
idea how
definitely
offensive that accent was. Carry on, sorry.
she definitely could have said to them that they shouldn't be there
Oi,
instead of
oi,
just saying she was
oi.
disappearing.
Oh, he's not mucking about, man. No, you got you better where you going. Going, yeah, that's what I think. I think. Uh, if you go and listen to traditional Kentish accents, which I have done online, they are very strong. Yeah. Oh, says Claire. Yeah, Dorman here. Dorman is the baddie, if anybody. Um,
We blame Mrs. Dorman.
Now I love Nesbit for her ghost stories. I love her. E Nesbit, of course, published under E Nesbit. Edith for her children's. I love Railway Children. I love the Railway Children. My favourite. What's her name? Who's in the Railway Children? The film. Uh, Gosh, it'll come to us. It'll come to us. Chris is saying has gone up in his estimation. Was hoping for a surprise, a twist or a shock, which didn't happen. But I think if I went back to it, I would just appreciate the writing after this. Yes.
So that's it. That's what we convince you of on in the book club. We go, you didn't like that, but it's because you haven't appreciated how good the writing is. Go back and
Yeah.
read it again.
Jenny Agutter. Yes, I love that scene in the shower of the Railway Children with Jenny Agutter. Um, uh, Sorry, American Werewolf in London.
That's it.
Apologies. Right. Yes, don't worry about the spelling. Yeah, now, here's the thing. If you go and look for the Edith Nesbitt Society online, you can join as a member. £13 by check. You have to post it. It's an Eltham address. I don't even have a checkbook. And they have social events. So Claire S we could, there's a meetup on the 18th of April. Something happened on the 18th of April, so we can't make that one. Saturday is reading day. And then there's lunch at the Tudor Barn on the 24th of May to celebrate 30 years of the Edith Nesbitt Society. Jacqueline Wilson will be there, I'm guessing. It just says River Thames, 27th of June. Birthday celebrations where she's buried. So a little bit grim. In St Mary in the Marsh, which is just down the road from where it's set. And then there's Andrew. So there's a talk in Eltham Library on the 18th of November, which I've just booked a gig for, funnily enough, today. So yeah, there is an Edith Nesbitt Society, and I've been wanting to join, John, but I don't have a checkbook.
That's the only thing that's stopping you.
Yeah. So was this written before her real life situation with her husband and the housekeeper? Ah, well, good research there, Chris. If we're blaming housekeepers, it was written before. I think it was. Yes, it was. Because she had a very interesting life. They all did. They were all quite free and easy and creative. We have this notion of the Victorian and Edwardian being quite buttoned up, but I do not think that they were.
Mm.
There's a link there from Barry. Okay, all right. So let's have a little bit. Start to have a little bit of a roundup. So we classify it. We like to classify it, and then we like to score it because you're talking of reductive. That's what that does. So our classifications are: is it a classic ghost story? Is it haunted house or place? Is it a physical creature or a monster? Is it cursed or a haunted object? Is it weird fiction? Is it demonic or otherworldly? Is it a psychic or a spiritualist story, only the sensitive are aware? Or is it not necessarily paranormal? And we're talking about an unreliable narrator. Did Jack do it? Really? Did he? Did he? We could join as an organisation for 20 quid. I'm going to do that. I'm going to join. The Haunted Book Club is going to join. I'm going to email them, see if they do anything other than a check. Okay, that's going to happen. So how would you classify it? Classic ghost story, haunted house, physical creature, cursed, weird fiction, demonic, psychic, or not paranormal at all? Type it in now. John, what do you think?
I think it's a cursed object from those things. They're
Do
two
you?
cursed objects, aren't they?
A
They're not.
cursed object. It's not a physical creature or a monster.
No, because it's only they're objects, aren't they? They're the statues.
Oh, come on now. It's like saying a mummy's just a pile of bandages.
It's not like saying that at all.
Well, actually, Claire is coming in with Haunted House. Chris is coming in with a classic ghost story. Rachel's coming in Haunted House and Physical Creature. The house is linked. It's physically linked because they make their way to the house, the old house. John,
That's true. So
no, you've
it
got this
is a
wrong
haunted
here. You've
house.
got this wrong.
It is a haunted house. Yes, I suppose it is a haunted house. You're right there.
Oh, I like the use of the I suppose. That's doing a lot of heavy lifting. Um, Nathan, physical creature, cursed object, which we're now both saying yes. Cursed object, physical creature, says Helen. Yeah, it's not like it's a werewolf. Their wolf. But hang on. It is like it is a creature. It is a creature. I mean, let's look at comic books. Yeah, comic books. There's sand-based. There's Clayface. There's all
Yeah, but
sorts.
They don't only move once a year when the clock strikes 11, do they? They're inanimate objects for most of the time, and it's only that one time that they come to life.
Well,
So they're cursed objects.
so they're animate.
Yeah, they're animate. Animate.
Rachel says, "You saying the weeping angels aren't creatures, that they don't move? They're absolutely creatures."
They're
John,
moving constantly, though, not just once a year. They only move once a year,
only
these
when you look at
statues.
them. They don't move. They don't move when you don't look at them. Or is it the other way around? The ending makes more sense to me now. The house is linked. Yes, they go to the house. It is a haunted house. Well,
Yeah,
here's the thing. I'm going to stop being flippant. It can be all of them, can't it? Because that's why I think it's such a rich story. That's why I think it's just such a good example of this genre. That's why I think it's, for a good reason, it appears in so many compilations. It's got everything. And Paul
yeah, and
just
you
saying
don't
classic ghost story, but I'm imagining the marble figures moving like Ray Harryhausen animation.
very
Absolutely
much yes, yeah.
bang on.
But I think what another reason why like I said, when he sees that the statues aren't there, then you sort of know that's going to happen, and that's perhaps being a bit flippant about it. But the point about it is, there's so many great unknowns in it. Mrs. Dorman says, and if anybody was to meet them, he says, well, what if somebody was to meet them, and then she won't say anything else. So, like,
This is
we've got this.
Granny Dorman.
We've got this setup that they're going to get up and they're going to come back to where their house was. We don't know why. We don't know what happens on the way. We don't know what happens if you get in their way. We don't know what happens when they arrive at the house. We don't know why they're doing any of it, or what it means even, really.
Claire's asking a very apposite question. Is there some sort of WD-40 for stone? Yeah, like the Tin Man. And do you think the finger gets put back?
Well, apparently, because you've seen the picture of the finger
I
already
had a look
back
at the
in
picture.
place.
All right, well, let's reduce it even more. We give it a score out of 5 for 3 different categories. Category 1 is scare factor. So you write scare factor or scare or just S out of 5. How scary was it when you were reading it? Okay. Category 2 is a creep factor. What did it just give you the ick? Did it give you the rising creep element? And satisfaction level out of 5. How satisfied were you at the end of it? So scare factor, creep factor, satisfaction level. Tell me what you think. Look around you. Good reference there, Claire.
Oh, cobbles, yeah.
I'd love to know your scores for that. Scare factor, creep factor. Does it give you not just wasn't scary? It was just something about it. It wasn't satisfaction level. If you stay for the after live, I will explain the Giles Brandreth element. Scare factor 3, says Claire at the end. Creep 4 and satisfaction 4. Scare 4, creep 4, satisfaction 4 from Helen. These are high scores, John.
They
Scare
are.
5. Creep 5, satisfaction 3, says Claire. Okay, yeah. They're coming in high. They're coming in hot. Look at these. Scare 3, creep 4, satisfaction 4, scare 2, creep 3, satisfaction 4. It's a very satisfying story. I would give it a 5, John.
You go the whole hog. Yeah, I think I'd give it a 5. I think I
5
would.
for satisfaction.
Yeah,
Scare. I didn't think it was that scary until the end. You're right. So I give it a 3, and then a creep. It was creepy though. It was creepy.
yeah. Very
What did you
creepy,
think?
yeah.
How creepy was it for you, my little pussy?
I've told you not to call me that when we're on live. Um, yeah, I think it's probably scary sort of 3 and creep is 4 and then satisfaction 5. I think. Yeah, but this
Well,
might be the highest scoring one overall that we've had, mightn't it?
I think overall we're saying scare 3, creep 4, satisfaction 4. I think that's
Yeah,
what we're saying as a group. Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad we enjoyed that. It is a very enjoyable. Now we're going to be announcing the next story soon, but next week it's going to be the Red Room by H.G. Wells. It's one I have read before, but I will try and reread it again. The Red Room by H.G. Wells will be released on the Substack. If you subscribe, on the YouTube, on the Spotify, it will be on Amazon Audible very soon as well for the audio only. Ooh, that's what I went with the average. Well done, Rachel. You were bang on. So we've got a little bit of business to go through. John, you all right if I go through some business?
absolutely.
Okay, so our first live gig is this Saturday at Norton Prairie. Live, Haunted Book Club in Norton Prairie. The Phantoms are still there. It's 7 o'clock on Saturday, so your ticket means you get to see the Phantoms at dusk. And then I will read you The Curfew by Lucy M. Boston, a very unsettling story set in Norton Prairie. And then John will have a chat with them, we'll have a break, and then we'll have the book clubbers who are there to talk about it. So that's this Saturday. We've got the Portico in Manchester gig coming up. Ironically, Claire can't make the Runcorn one, but Manchester awaits. Oh, we'll see you on the train. Yes, Portico, that amazing venue.
Yeah,
Uh,
incredible.
both amazing venues. Coming up on a date for the diary, June the
9th.
9th. Okay, put that date in your diary. June the 9th. We're going to have a free but only offered initially to people who come to these onlines, but
Yeah, the
live you
members
have to
only.
be members only. You have to be in Merseyside in the Wavertree Cholera and Drunk tank. We're going to run this. We're going to slightly different. I'll read you the story and we'll have the chat, but we'll have it and try and stream it live from the Wavertree. We've got access to the Drunk and Cholera tank in. So Claire, can you make June the 6th? Because it'll be a free ticket for you if you want one. We'll sort that out as we come up. All right. What else we've got to tell you? Red Room on Monday, yes. We'll have the afterlive in a moment. Everybody who comes on Saturday gets a bookmark and a badge. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We haven't made the badges yet, though.
I'll be making the badges. Don't you worry about it, John. I wouldn't let people down when it comes to badges. Tuesday is a Tuesday, Claire. Whatever the Tuesday is.
It's the 9th. It's the 9th.
Sorry, the 9th. I've been saying the 6th. Tuesday the 9th in Wavertree in Liverpool, free gig. And we're going to try and live stream it as well. So we want to offer it to you first. Other than that, John, 1, 2, 3 badge. Yes. Well, other than that, thank you so much for your input.
Thank you very much for your input, and thank all of the book club members for their input as well.
Can't wait to see you
And
on Saturday.
we should say, no, I can't wait to see you either. We should also say, suggest stories. We want people's story suggestions.
Yes, we would like. Yes, Claire put it in the diary. So I'm going to put a link in. The link is also on the document. On the next document. We want your suggestions. We've got a couple of corking suggestions from people, but we could do with some more from you. So I'm going to paste this in. It will be. Where is the form? It was in the. It was in the last. It will be in the blurb for this tomorrow as well. But there's the form there. It'll be in the blurb. So tomorrow, and there is a Haunted Book Club Facebook group as well. So I'll pop that in there. All right then, John. So we're going to have the after live, but we're going to say thank you very much. Thank you and please tell people about it. All your likes, your subscribes, your echoes. If in particular you could help us with these live gigs, we never intend to charge. We're not going to have a Patreon. We're not going to have a restricted access for any of the online ones. We do this because we love it, and we would love to do more live gigs. So we want to. So sell it to your friends.
Yeah, and buy salad cream as well, because we're being sponsored by them.
Imagine, please get onto Heinz. I would happily sit here and spoon baked beans in all the way through.
I don't think nobody wants to watch that, guy. That's a different kind of podcast.
I am sore as I splosh. Sure, as I splosh it in, some people would enjoy it. Right then, thank you everybody for joining us. We're here for the afterlife, but in the meantime, we've been the Haunted Book Club, and do not approach that statue without counting how many fingers it has. Goodbye.